Hey, happy to be here. Have you ever thought about or questioned why you think certain things? Like maybe a thought comes up in your mind and you're disgusted with yourself, or you just think, oh man, why did I think that? You know? Because from the moment we're born, up until we start to have our own thoughts, and then to when we realized how influenced we are by our surroundings and our environment, everything happening around us. We're basically picking up the things that other people say and do. We're picking it up from just socializing with others, friends, family. We pick it up from the media, the things that we watch, and we also pick it up from the things that we listen to, whether it be podcasts, whether it be music, or even the news, right? Media. And we also get it from the things we see. And that includes reading, that includes looking across the street and seeing how someone behaves with, I don't know, their family, for example, and maybe it influences you in some other way. I mean, that's a little fetched, let's be honest, but you know what I mean. It influences us all so very much, but also very little also. Um, and so whether the things that we soak up, the things that we see and intake from others, whether they are good or they're bad, that kind of depends on your values, right? Because everyone values something a little bit different. Mm. But have you ever felt that there was that thought that you just kind of you had by accident, I guess? And it's not something that you normally think. Like, was that me? Or was that someone else I probably heard say something like that before? Because I found that the more we respect someone, the more we pick up their idiocracies, which is things that you just kind of hear people say in their speech. Like, for example, um, a lot of people will say, right, at the end of statements. Like, they'll say things, right? And I'm going to be honest, I'm a culprit of it as well, because there are people I do look up to who say right after they say something, right? And it becomes a thing where sometimes it's a little bit said too much, and it starts to it's not that it starts to be annoying, but it starts to be just like over the top, right? And you know how it's like a little itch that you can't itch, right? It's like that. And I'm doing it right now, specifically because you don't want to hear right anymore, because I keep saying it. It's like, okay, we get the idea, right? And there it is again. It just kind of comes up, right? Wow. It just kind of comes up. And so those things are small idiocracies that we can pick up from others because we are just a sponge for information. We just soak it all up. Whatever works, it works. And humans, we will adapt because that's what we are so good at doing. And so I'm talking about filtering our thoughts because not all of our thoughts are our own. Not all of our thoughts are our own. And because that's the case, I think it's really important that we consciously filter our thoughts as we're thinking them, and especially as we're about to say them. Because I know a lot of the times people will say things that are out of pocket being they had no reason to say that. It might have been a little bit rude, but they had no reason to say that. But it was said anyways. Like, what was the point? What was the point? Right? And to kind of let out frustration is one thing. Um, but it's not very helpful to just kind of let out frustration. That's like venting. And venting doesn't do much to solve problems. So so if you haven't ever questioned your thoughts, I honestly challenge you. I challenge you to question some of the thoughts that you think, because whether they are yours personally or if they might be someone else's, like someone in your family or an uncle or a best friend that you look up to, right? And I know it sounds weird because like why would I bother questioning something that I'm thinking? What's the point? And the point is that a lot of the times when people go on these things called uh, soul searching, soul searching journeys, you know, finding myself, I'm gonna spend this year to find myself, find out who I really am, things like that. You find out who you really are by questioning the thoughts in your head, because a lot of the times the thoughts in your head are not the thoughts that you think. Sometimes they're thoughts that other people think and thoughts that you've heard other people say out loud. Like an opinion about a specific something. Like maybe you personally got into something that was really exciting and you were just like, oh man, I'm so gassed up, I can't wait to share this with my friend. Maybe they'll like it too, I really hope they like it too, but I'm gonna share it with them. And so they share it with them, and that friend happens to have had a really bad experience with that same thing, and then they give them all the, you know, all the information that they have, and they're just like, oh, you know what, like, I think it's amazing what you're doing, but like, don't come to me about it again. That kind of, it's like, it's nice that you're doing that, but I don't want to hear about it. It's kind of what it sounds like. And it sucks to hear that when you're really excited about something, because it changes the way you think about what you have. And so that's why I challenge you to question it, because soul searching, finding yourself, not that I, you know, have discovered myself completely, because I'm only a work in progress, like we all are, you know. but that's fine, because we are wise enough to be able to use the knowledge and the experience of others, the expertise that other people have, to come to our own conclusions. But like I said, the problem with that sometimes is that the conclusions that we come up with are influenced by the conclusions of other people's. And so if we were to go and experience something ourselves without hearing someone else's experience, we sometimes might be able to have a completely different conclusion or perspective or thought of this thing, opinion. We'd have something completely different from what someone else would have. And so in them telling us maybe something that really sucked, but we were really excited about, it could just kind of loom over what we were about to experience, and so we're not going to go experience it because of what my friend told me. And that kind of robs us of opportunity, which is something that I've only realized recently, like how much it robs you of the opportunity to go experience this thing or go have this thing or whatever it may be. But it robs you of that opportunity. And it's not to put the blame on somebody else. It's to kind of like go like this. Your fault. Because that was just something, whether it was like a bad experience, that's just something that could happen, but hasn't happened. And so, because we like to look at the worst case scenario and things, sometimes people will just be like, you know what, that might happen to me, so I'm just not going to do it at all. And that's you robbing yourself of an opportunity to go and experience something. And it feels bad because you just kind of eliminate it, and it might have been something that would have been completely amazing for you, right? And so that's why sometimes we want to be careful with the things that we listen to, or not be careful with the things that we listen to, but be careful with the things we think about, because oftentimes it's not us. Sometimes our own voice is so quiet that it might take a couple sessions of meditation to finally be like, I think that's me. I think that thought was my thought. I think that thought was someone else. You know, it takes a lot of awareness to do that. Not to say that I have the awareness to do it, but I'm definitely on the path to growing that awareness as I do meditate different ways. Like in the morning, for example, when I meditate, because I don't meditate every day. Don't get me wrong, I do try, although I'm not consistent. I do try, and that is still something. Although consistency is always better. In the mornings, it'll be like meditating towards focus, and that's the whole thing where you just sit down, you chill, close your eyes, focus on your breathing, and every time you get distracted with a thought or an idea or whatever else, try to focus on my breathing again. Just like constantly redirecting my focus, because that's what it's doing. It's like I'm thinking, oh man, I'm hungry. Oh, back to breathing. Oh man, I should drink some water. Oh, back to breathing. You know, it's just constantly correcting, and that's helped me focus on things. And it's helped me because sometimes you do go on tangents when you're thinking things, like you entertain thoughts sometimes, and that's okay. That's a whole part of the exercise. Um, I realize that some thoughts are not my own. Those are thoughts that maybe my brother have said, maybe my father has said, or maybe even I've seen on like Instagram Reels or on TikTok or whatever social media. And so that's the focus training or meditation that kind of helps me personally. That's helped me filter my thoughts a little bit. And something else that's really helped me filter my thoughts is whenever I find myself really upset. When I find myself really upset and challenged and like, man, I just have the energy to want to go break something. I'm pissed. A thought that always occurs in my head is the first one is to chill. Like maybe the problem that I'm experiencing right now and the hardship I'm experiencing right now, or the challenge, maybe that's something that only I am experiencing. And if only I am experiencing that, there must be a reason as to why I'm experiencing it. And so once you dive down into what are the thoughts that get me pissed? What are the thoughts that get me about this? What are the thoughts about my thoughts about this that get me really upset, right? And it could be your thoughts on a scenario. It could be your thoughts on an object. It could be your thoughts on a person, right? Um, a lot of the times, you could dig deep. You could dig deep to whose thoughts are making you think that there is a problem. Maybe there isn't even a problem. Maybe this is just something that you've never experienced before, and so your body's going through it. And you're just kind of trying to logically, you know, you can go on so many different. It's like overthinking. You can really overthink really well if you don't filter your thoughts. But if you filter your thoughts and you find who your thoughts are, like who you're getting confusing. You you find who you find the thoughts that are yours and not someone else's. Once you kind of do that, it makes it a lot easier to go about proceeding in your next steps when it comes to just the things that you would do, instead of the things that this person would do. And I think the only time that, and by the way, I'm not saying to not listen to others, because as I said before, using other people's knowledge and their expertise, I believe that's something that a philosopher has said is called wisdom. Using other people's knowledge and expertise is called wisdom, because you do not have to go through it yourself. Someone else is going through it and you're learning from their experience. The hard part about that is taking all the feelings that get confused into it as well sometimes, and kind of loses the black and white value of it. Like, for example, if you want to adjust a microphone, there's like on a stand, there's like a little thing that you can twist. It goes lefty loosey, righty tighty, and it goes up and down when it's loose, and when it's tight, it just stays tight. But I don't know, if someone had a really bad experience with that microphone and they loosened it all the way, they let go, and they jammed their finger at the very end when it dropped because it was loose and it just fell. Like, oh man, I don't know. Like, all you have to do is twist the thing, but you got to be really careful because If you just let go, it's gonna drop and it's gonna hurt your hand. And honestly, I wouldn't even use that anymore. Like, I'd much rather prefer you get something that just attaches to your table so that you don't have to deal with that at all. It's just an arm that kind of moves, and it's not a stand that you're adjusting the height of. You're just kind of moving the mic freely now when it's attached to your table. So I'd rather you just do that. But it doesn't work for the scenario of that person you're giving that advice to. It's it kind of loses the value that the person could have taken from it. Like, maybe all they needed to know was there's something you can turn and you can move it up and down. Just be careful of your fingers, because it could just drop. The table hand thing, like, didn't have to be a part of it. Like, I didn't need to be so frustrated or anything like that. Um, because they wouldn't be able to use a table one. Just an example. Um, I'm not, yeah, and so I'm not saying to not listen to others because that's wise to do. I'm just saying to, when you do hear it, take it with a grain of salt because there's always those lessons that you can take from it, like just twist the thing and put it down, up and down, be careful. But there's also extra thoughts that come with it because you're listening to a person. And when you listen to a person, obviously, yeah, people will talk about, the things that really matter to them. And so that's extra information that you probably don't need. And sometimes it could be negative, which is really goes against what you're trying to do. But yeah, I'm just saying, filter the thoughts that come to your head because a lot of the times it could be thoughts that either pull you back from something that can really be amazing for you, or it could push you further into doing something that might be really bad for you. And so I hope that this episode helped you out today. It's been Kyle. Peace and love.